Mr. Johnny Walker en de MM, kan jullie vergadering beetje stadiger houden? Councillor Low, can you talk to God with us, for us?
Bid. Ons gaan nou bid nou, Councillor Susan Campbell. Councillor Susan Campbell en baie dankie, Here, vir die geleentheid wat U vir ons gee om te kan wees, Here, bewaar ons, Here. Transdeer, versterk ons, Here, in die naam van Jesus van Nazareth, Here. Ek loof, ek prys U daarvoor, Here. Here, alles wat ons sal besluit, Here, dat dit tot voordeel van onze gemeenskap sal wees, Here, maar nie tot voordeel van onsself as mense, Here. Here, baie dankie daarvoor, geef ons wysheid, geef ons insig, Here. Ek loof, ek prys U daarvoor in Jesus' naam. Amen, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor Low. Greetings to everyone. Members that are present, Councillor Low, Councillor Winston, Councillor Peter Bester, Councillor Sabah, Councillor Van Skalkwijk, Councillor Campbell, and former Mayor Mark Willemse. Our Mayor is here, Councillor Matika. The MM is here. Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Veso. The managers of Mr. Mpumi Nzuzo. And Christopher, Director of Corporate. My favorite, Marlene Daraleid. Christopher, as he saw, and I get just because of when it comes to the African ones, I call them Dombam, Sanalwam, Sanalwam Gbani Faniak. Lungi Sokoya, because I always call them my daughter. And Councillor Chokolo is here. We are going to start with our business of the day. As I said, can you first only Councillor Low? Jim, that's of your laptop. Ik heb nog nooit gezien in de portfolio, die agenda niet. Wat vooraan is. Members without leave, none. Noting the provision of Schedule 1 Code of Conduct for Councillors of the Local Government Municipal System, Act 32 of 2000, and Code for Ethical Leadership as adopted by Council. Matters submitted by the municipal manager is on page 4. Councillor Low.
Councillor Serensebach, u kan maar voor die chairperson vragen, dan dit sy mos nou die antwoord. Dat is wat zeker u kan gee. Dis wat is eenvoudig. U kan haar vragen. Sy is mos nou hier so. As jy voel as nou members wat hier is nie, dan kan jy haar vragen.
Chair, seeing that Councillor Lowe wants to be so important, I did note that you do not have your bench of members present. Councillor Vanston and Councillor Peter Bester is on Teams. Neil Lowe is there and yourself, but the balance of your members are not present, but you've not indicated that they're absent without leave or absent with leave. So, which means that they're not absent, they have not applied for leave and they haven't been granted leave, so they're here without leave. And those names need to be recorded into the record.
Councillor, Councillor Sharon, Councillor K did send and said that she asked for a link because she's got a flu. I've got a flu, everybody's got a flu. So it's just that they need to be connected on the link. They did on the Maker group.
Thank you, Chair. Just it needs to be recorded for record-keeping purposes.
Councillor Low.
Het was regtig niet zo moeilijk, he. Councillor Serensebach, om direct te vragen. Het was glad niet zo moeilijk. Ik is blij at least, because ik zie je begin met André en toen ga je aan die andere councillor toe. Maar ik is blij je dat at least strijd gevraagd.
Can you check, Jill, for Councillor K? Is she log in? Council, sorry. We are a quorum, we're four. We are a quorum.
Chair, I never questioned the fact that you're a quorum. I questioned the fact that you didn't record the members that were not present correctly for minute-taking purposes.
Chairperson, sorry. The only thing that the councillor wants, absent without leave. And you record Councillor Arendse is not present. Councillor that is not present. Then we move.
We are now on page 4. Matter submitted by the municipal manager.
Yeah, I will ask Mr. Vesso to deal with items.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Chair, just apology from Mr. Royden Perry, Manager Water and Sewer. He's in Worcester attending to a workshop presented by the SA Human Rights Commission. So I'll be presenting the report and then also just an apology for Mr. Marie, Sean Marie, Manager Roads and Stormwater. He asked to be excused. This item is not really relevant to him, and this is the only item. I've got Mr. Nzuzo, who's the Manager Projects, who was partially involved with the project. He is present and will share with me any comments or feedback, questions that may arise. Chair, item 4.1 then is the report on the Water Services Development Plan for Knysna Municipality. I trust I can proceed presenting the report. So, Chair, just in terms of the purpose, so the purpose of today really is to present the Water Service Development Plan to the Infrastructure Committee, and then for the report then to be adopted and approved by Council. The Water Services Development Plan, it's a statutory requirement in terms of the Water Services Act, in particular sections, or Chapter 3 from Section 11 onwards. It requires every water services authority, which Knysna municipality is, they must develop a draft water services development plan. Now, just in terms of some history, as indicated there, previous resolutions. Now, this plan was completed in December 2023, but it was brought to our attention that the plan never served at Council for formal adoption as required by the Act. So, in 2024, you will notice on the annexures that the plan was approved by the relevant authorities, the acting director, I believe, at the stage, the acting MM at the stage, and then the executive mayor, as you can see on the signed document. So, in terms of the document that we have in front of us, it was approved. However, it never went through the statutory approval processes, and that's why we are bringing it to the Section 80 committee so that it can be adopted then by Council. Just in terms of some background information, so Knysna municipality is responsible for ensuring provision of sustainable, efficient and affordable water and sanitation services to all its residents. And then the WSDP serves as the strategic framework that outlines water and sanitation, infrastructure related matters. It identifies key challenges and provides solutions through planned infrastructure projects and operational improvements. If we look at the key focus areas really of a WSDP, which this WSDP, it was compiled by the municipality, but with the assistance from Zutari. They were the consultants that was appointed to develop this water services development plan. And as you can see there, it reflects a response to increasing demands for water and sanitation services, aging infrastructure, operational challenges, and financial constraints. Key focus of the WSDP includes expanding access to water and sanitation services, reducing service backlogs and improving service delivery, upgrading of aging infrastructure and to ensure adequate maintenance, then also to improve water conservation and demand management, and then lastly, ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements, including blue drop and green drop standards. Now, in terms of the contents of the report under the discussion of the item, the report must consist of certain aspects, and those aspects are legislated actually what must be included in a water services development plan, specifically Section 13 of the Water Services Act. It indicates that every draft water services development plan must contain details regarding physical attributes of the areas, for instance, settlement, demographics, service levels, etc., as reported in the report, the size and distribution of the population within its area, and then, very important, a time frame for the plan, including an implementation program for the following 5 years. You will notice that in terms of Section 12, your water services development plan forms a sectoral plan of your IDP, and it generally follows the same process as the IDP.
Sorry, Director, so I see here on page 7, yes. So as you are saying that the master plan, it was last updated in 2018. This is what is written here.
Yes, this is the water services development plan.
Okay.
There's some comments relating to the master plan that I will touch on.
All right.
So these are just the minimum contents in terms of legislation that must be included in your water services development plan. It must have an indication, for instance, of existing industrial water, industrial effluent, future provisions of water services, both in terms of normal residential as well as industrial use. Any water services providers that are active in the area of jurisdiction. It must have information regarding the water sources to be used, quantity of the water to be obtained from and discharged into each source, estimated capital and operational cost of those water services, and financial arrangements for funding of water services, including then your tariff structures. Then operations, maintenance, repair, and replacement of existing infrastructure. Those are all the aspects that must be included in your water services development plan. And then also of the number and locations of persons to whom water services cannot be provided within the next 5 years after adoption. Reasons must be provided, and then a time frame in your water services development plan must indicate then within which it may be reasonably expected then to achieve basic water supply and basic sanitation to those persons that are currently then excluded. So in terms of the profile of the municipality, that is reflected in this water services development plan. What it says then, water supply in the municipality, it's reliable with significant proportions of households having access to piped water inside their dwellings and within their yards. However, aging infrastructure and operational challenges have led to frequent breakdowns, pipe bursts, etc. At the time, load shedding was still a challenge, and it complicated water services delivery, especially around pump stations, treatment facilities that generally don't operate without electricity availability. Vandalism, theft, infrastructure components, including water meters. So all of those challenges are listed. And then while the municipality did make progress to reduce service backlogs, some households still rely on water sources within 200 meters of their dwellings. So this is especially prevalent in your informal areas. Then just some statistical data taken from the Water Services Development Plan are your number of households that have access inside the dwelling, households with piped water within the yard, in other words, not in the house, and then statistics around households that have water or access to water within 200 meters, and then the backlogs as indicated there, some 6% of our population where there's backlogs and not direct or adequate water access. In terms of the sanitation profile, as indicated there, while the municipality made some progress with most of households having access to flush toilets connected to sewer systems, however, operational capacity challenges persist due to aging infrastructure. Informal settlements present additional challenges and due to lack of permanent infrastructure. And then they are serviced through chemical toilets, as we know. And then some sanitation statistics as indicated there. Households with flush toilets, about 91%, then septic tanks, chemical toilets, and then bucket toilets, that's 0. So that is the situation then for sanitation services. Staff is reflected in the WSDP. The Water and Sanitation Unit, as we all know, is significantly understaffed, and we know the situation about the vacancy rates. So the WSDP reflect those numbers as well. In terms of then the infrastructure asset management, in this section, it states there that the municipality maintains the asset register and it updates it annually. Sanitation, water and sanitation infrastructure components are reaching the end of its useful life, leading to increased maintenance requirements and reduced operational efficiency. In this section as well, we indicate there that there are funding limitations, which is obviously a cause of concern. And some projects are being funded through MIG and other sources available. However, in terms of the scope that's required at this stage, it's still insufficient, and we experience that daily. Very important, Chair, what you alluded to earlier, the existing master plans for the water and sanitation infrastructure were last updated in 2018. I think on a few platforms we've alluded to that fact. And in the next financial year, 25-26, we have made provision now to update our master plans. And also key there is the frequency of updating these master plans, at least every 3 to 5 years, having such a large backlog now of last doing it in 2018. That may require a higher frequency of updating, but in general, norms and standards every 3 to 5 years. Now, just to pause on that, the current WSDP, then we must accept, it was already drafted in 2023, December 2023. We saw the dates when it was approved. So even the master plan in its current state does not, in my view, then reflect a true condition of our infrastructure due to our master plans having been done in 2018 only. So the contents of this master plan, then, one can reasonably then acknowledge that it would not reflect everything that we need to have, because generally your master plan precedes your WSDP. So if you have an updated and current infrastructure master plan for water and sanitation, that information will generally then feed into WSDP that will then give you a 5-year implementation plan on how to address infrastructure replacements, upgrades, etc., as may be required. The relevant legislation, it is stated there, Chair, and then the recommendations as indicated. Now, just before we go then to the recommendations, I did liaise with the colleagues as to the process that preceded the adoption of the 2024 signatures, because legislation clearly indicates to us that you have a draft WSDP and then certain processes unfolds, almost similar to an IDP and a budget. The draft budget is approved end of March, but the final budget is only approved at the end of May. And that's for a 2-month public participation process. Now, in terms of this WSDP, I cannot say with certainty that that process was followed. You have to send it, for instance, for public comments. You have to send it to your neighboring municipalities for inputs, etc. So I'm not sure whether those processes were followed. However, I don't see it as a significant hindrance, because one can always then start those processes from here so that we can ensure then maybe in 2 months, if we follow that processes and accept this then as a draft, then one can follow those processes and then come back and adopt the final WSTP. And I would lean towards amending the recommendation to that effect. However, I'm sure there will be inputs, there will be alternative recommendations, and then I will be guided then by the committee in that regard. Thank you, Chair.
M.
Yes, mine is, you know, and this is very important what we have to deal with. Because if the previous people that was in front before us have adopted this and implemented, then we wouldn't have this challenge that we have faced now. What I say here is that also I can see the biggest challenge that we are facing, and I'm still waiting for answers, and I sent emails, and no one have responded until today. The maintenance that we have to pay for our pumps and that are broken and all these kind of things, it is a challenge for us. But at least in this document that are in front of us, you have also highlighted that this is one of the challenges we are facing. But also on that, I don't know if there's any cost attached to what is the maintenance cost for us for the previous year, so we can have at least idea what it will cost for us to deal with it. But mine is that I will support it. The only thing that I want to see is that it must be implemented. Because when we support something, it must never become a document that becomes full of dust. It must become a working document. So you will have my support on it, Director. I will support it fully, and that's what we need, because water is life, and our people need clean water, because we can never have a situation where we will have Hammanskraal in ice now. So your department, they have my blessing on this, and then they can implement it with the support from the Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation. This is my stake on it. The other issues I will still communicate around what I have asked about 2023, 2024 maintenance costs of our pipes, breaks, in that we have to deal with in the 2025, 2026, 2024, 2025 deal, but I will deal on a different platform for that, but I will support it.
No, I would request that Council adopts the document. You see, this is a non-compliance issue. This is a non-part. What we will do, we will add a resolution that we must initiate a review process to the document, because there's a finding about our failure to submit a WSTP document to DWS. Remember, we are performing this function on behalf of DWS. So what had happened is that Royden, in December of 2003, you know, during that recess period, took the document to the then executive mayor, Councillor Tsengwa, because using a resolution of council that empowers the mayor to take emergency decisions. But the document was not brought to council for a final endorsement. And this has been the fight between us and TWS. But the truth is that there was no council resolution. But the document anyway has to be, we have to start in the next financial year, and I hope Mr. Veso will have funding for that, for the review of the document. So it's a compliance issue at the moment, that the document, because DWS is expecting me that by Monday, because I've committed to say by Monday next week, the document will be submitted to DWS, because our failure to make to comply is threatening our status as a water service authority. You know, it's putting our status at stake. So that's what I would request we do. Then we initiate the review, and also including all the master plans that are supposed to be there, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Weinstein, and then Councillor Bestia.
Thank
Councillor
you,
Weinstein.
Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to all. Thank you for this special infrastructure committee meeting. Some of the questions I have and concerns I have around this report start with the accurate figures in this report. If we're saying that this report is from 2023, we have had an influx of people. We've had more residents that have moved in, upgrades and increases in informal settlements, etc. So my question is around the accuracy of the figures. Also, we know that we are currently facing water meter challenges. We also have incorrect billing around the water losses. I mean, we're facing 11 million rand of water losses due to the infrastructure aging and challenges we have with our water meters. Also, and I don't see that is mentioned, current status of that within this report, so that's a concern. For clarity, please. Also, we haven't made mention of, as the director alluded to, we need to make mention of the long-term, medium to long-term water supply. I don't see any of that with regards to PG Bison being an alternative as per the ongoing negotiations with them for long-term water supply of Ward 1, 2 and 5 boreholes. Also, in 2023, we had a serious lack of water supply in Sedgefield, with all the increase of households and use of water when we have all our tourists visiting in season. There was a stage in December 2023 where there was not sufficient water supply. Where is the long-term solutions mentioned in this report? Also, currently, I mean, my town, Ward 2, smells like sewage and refuse. This is a challenge that we have here. Now, there's a lot of lack of sewage pump station upgrades all across Knysna, but specifically within Ward 2 currently. The upgrades for the sewage pump stations and even the fleet management for our honeysuckers and the trucks with the long pipes, I don't see mention of that. Also, we need to ensure that we have budget for the sewage pump upgrades as well as the fleet management. The budget is required for that, so we need to make sure that we're aware of that and implement it in this budget. Also, when you speak, the director spoke of the master plan. I'd just like some clarity around where are we in the process of our actual master plan being updated. And then just a reminder that we need our budget to speak to the infrastructure upgrades and the staff vacancies to be filled this year. Otherwise, if we don't have the sufficient staff, then we don't have manpower to assist us with our challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Weinstein. Councillor Bester.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, through you to the Director and the MM. Okay, I agree with Director Vessa. Let's adopt this as a draft document. And as the MM has alluded, let's start the process of revising this document to make it current. And also, at the same time, like Director Vessa mentioned, this is supposed to follow a public participation process. So from now until the next council meeting, let's get this document out to the public for comments. Also, in this process, I'd like to expedite that we get our master plan in place so that the master plan and this document can speak to each other, so that when we adopt it, it's actually a fully comprehensive document that addresses all the current issues that we face surrounding water and sanitation within the Greater Knysna municipal area. Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to respond, Director?
Thank you, Chair. The comments from Councillor Lowe is noted. I agree with the MM on the alternative route that we then initiate a review process after adoption of this one. We can acknowledge the possible shortcomings currently in the current plan, but that is why the review process is then immediately started afterwards. Councillor Vanson, in terms of the accuracy that you referred to, the water meters, the issue of water losses, the long-term water security that you mentioned, the master plan updates, that will all then be addressed, in my view, in the review process, Councillor. Similarly, Councillor Bester, I know you move for my initial comments, but as the MM has alluded to, this is now a matter of compliance, and I think I support the secondary resolution that part of the resolutions then become that the review process be initiated and budget be allocated in the 25-26 budget, and that should suffice, because then that empowers us then immediately to review the document and address all the possible shortcomings that's there. Simultaneously, obviously, that we already have budget now in the draft budget for the master plans. So I will liaise now immediately after the Section 80 that we allow for budget for this specifically review, if accepted by this committee of the WSDP. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director MM.
No, I wanted to say, I think we note the councillor's comments. From what Councillor Venstein was saying, all those things will go into the review process. Because, figures shift. Yeah, they shift every day. There's a new person coming to NISNA on a daily basis. So figures will shift. I think let's agree the document will be adopted, review process will be initiated, and the budget, because they need a lot of money to run this process. They need, in fact, and all the master plans, that must go together, Chairperson. In fact, I think in the next Section 80, we need to focus in June, we need to focus on the conditions of the license that we have. We must interrogate that and say, point one, are we complying? Let Mr. Veso come with that in terms of water, in terms of sanitation. Are we complying? Because if we do not do that, Chairperson, we will continue to receive these letters, non-compliance, directives, all that. So we must dedicate that meeting in June into looking into specifics now. Is the structure correct? Because I've got a problem with the structure of water and sanitation. Do we have enough human resources, in that department to be able to meet its own obligations at the end of the day? So that focus will be very critical. Water Service Authority, water service provision. We need to look into all that to ensure that we are fully compliant. I'm telling you, Chairperson, without fear or favor, the district is gunning for our status. They want to take over, and provide our work. So that's why we need to be on our toes to ensure that we fulfill our obligations, Chairperson. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MM. Councillor Sabah.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think that the report and the feedback provided by Director Veso and the MM is fairly comprehensive, and I would agree with the approach in terms of adopting the plan now and immediately implementing a review process. The one thing that I do wish to have a comment on, and I think it is one thing that is causing a huge problem with this, with regard to our ability to provide water to our communities, is the failure of our service provider with regard to the servicing of our pumps and the managing of our pumps. And I think that that is something that needs a critical investigation and review. We currently have a number of pump stations that are failing both sewer and water. We need to determine where our pumps are And again, I'm going to raise that issue with regard to the handover report that was supposed to have been done when the new contractor was appointed, which handover report still not seems to have surfaced. So it makes it very difficult for the director, being new in the seat, to be able to take over and address it when we ourselves are not aware of where our pumps are and what pumps need to be serviced or are in service and need to be collected and reinstalled, etc. So there is talk already on one of the groups that apparently the contract to SNR has come to an end. I would like clarity on that, because that is going to impact on us going forward in terms of who's going to be servicing our pumps, both water and sewer. We're currently sitting with a major sewer problem, particularly in Ward 9, where we had, and currently still have the problem outside the Nasda Golf Course on Howard Street, and it impacted on the Premier Hotel, where the sewage was actually pushing back up into the villas, and the Premier Hotel had to evacuate their guests because of it. We had sewer flowing down into the Heads area down by NSRR over the weekend too, where we had to have honeysuckers operating literally 24/7 the entire weekend to address it, because the pumps in those areas are not working. So I think that in order to address the concerns in terms of this, develop this plan and our review process, I think a look at the awarding of the contract, the service level agreement and the standing operating procedures possibly need review, and how we go forward in terms of ensuring that our assets are properly managed, and then also serviced before they get reinstalled into the pump stations. There is definitely substandard workmanship in that area, and that has been made aware to the municipality via the chief engineer. So it is something that is of concern to me, and I think it's of critical need in terms of investigation and moving forward in that regard. So I hope that Mr. Veso will assist in terms of addressing that too. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. As a recommendation of the municipal manager, which is on page 7, A, that the report on the water services development plan, WSDP for Neisner municipality be noted, and B, that the Neisner municipality water services development plan, WSDP, be approved by council. Can we go?
The review
Chairperson?
See that the review process be initiated immediately,
Can we add? Did you get that, Jill?
and that the budget be allocated for that particular process.
Can we go with the recommendation?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Chairperson, yes, I agree with that, as long as we have the recommendation C in. So yes, I agree. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to thank everyone, especially those who were hand in hand when we had this water crisis, although it's not over yet, but we managed to deal with it, especially the KIG that have also assisted us. You know, when there is something, for an example, there's a young man that hanged himself there in Damsabos, and there's no time for us to say he must deal on it on himself, because he's dead, and we are those who are surrounding him. We are there to support and bury him. So this is what had happened in Neisner. I thank everyone, that the director, the MM, the staff of infrastructure, community service that was working 24/7. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.